I want to welcome you to the show today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is the author's edition. So if you don't like books, then you need to jump off now because we're going to be talking about a book. I'm just going to let you know right now. Tomorrow is never promised. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We have the author and how would I say, the intelligent person that likes to write books. I mean, what else we want to say? He's amazing. It's Tomorrow is Never Promised. And we have the author here, Dennis E. Brown, in the house. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, my privilege. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. So, man, I tell you, there are a lot of things that lead up to actually writing a book, and most people kind of put it off until they can't anymore. What was your, I couldn't put it off any longer, I had to do this?
Well, in my case, it was a tragedy.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry.
I'll be honest with you, I had never thought about writing a book, never considered writing one. And then I lost my youngest son due to a car accident. Um, some things that transpired after that, I just knew that there was something special going on. And I decided I'm gonna take a shot. Maybe I can do this in a way that will inspire people, give some people hope, especially people that go through similar things because this kind of thing happens every day. Uh,
Oh,
and I know for me and my family, when it first happened, it was, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? How do we get through this? Um, I didn't have a clue. Um, So I hoped, or my biggest hope was when I wrote this, that people would be able to pick it up, read it, say, you know what, there's something here. Uh, Maybe this will help them get them through.
mm.
So that was my whole purpose.
Wow. I mean, wow. I'm sorry. I know what it's like to lose a kid. I really do. I wish I didn't. I wish I
Well,
didn't know. I, you
I
know,
wish you didn't either.
I wish I didn't know. I do know. And every day that goes by, it doesn't make it any easier. So, writing this book, what did this do for you? Did this help you to heal?
Oh, without a doubt. Now, when I first wrote it, that wasn't the purpose of it. I mean, I really wasn't worried about myself. Um, Other than just trying to tell a story and bring it across in a way that, like I said, it would touch people's hearts and maybe them give them hope in similar situations. But I have no doubt, as tough as it was to write, um, it probably did more for me than it did for anybody. Just finally getting the emotions and the story out of my system.
Mm, mm. What did you put into this story? What was the one thing that you put into this story that was all about your healing and you? Because I know that everyone likes to interject themselves into, it doesn't matter, fiction, fact, it doesn't matter, but what was the one thing that you could not say you wrote a book if you didn't put this in there?
Um, well, probably a couple of things. Number one was simply uh, the love that I have for my son. I still have for my son and for my family.
Mhm.
Uh, I have another son. I have a daughter, uh, and also the simple, in my opinion, what got us through more than anything was our faith in God.
Right.
Uh, Now, I did have one thing that sort of caused the light bulb to click on, I guess you would say, as much as anything. And it was something that somebody had told me uh, that had been through something similar. Uh, 3 months after this took place, we were all still hurting so bad. We were walking around like zombies, didn't know which way to turn, what to do. It was just trying to get through the day. And at my wife's suggestion, she said, I think we need to go see a grief counselor.
Mm.
And, I'm going to just admit, being a man and being hard headed, that's the last thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I said that I would go, you know, and we only went that one time, but it did make a huge difference. And one of the things that the guy told us, because he had lost his father at a young age, and he made the comment, he said, you're probably never going to be able to get rid of the pain, but you can make up your mind not to be miserable.
Mm.
And when he said that, that's what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And then when things progressed after that, and because some of the things that was happening around Aaron and some of the things that was being done for him, and like I said, I just knew something special was going on that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
So I told my wife at the time, I said, you know what, I'm going to sit down and try to write a book about this. And of course, she thought I was just being silly. And the thing about it was, too, I did write it, and I did it without her knowing it.
Mm.
I did it without anybody else knowing it. And when I finally finished, I just took it to her and said, remember me telling you I was going to write a book about this? Here it is. And
Mm.
then, it just went from there.
Yeah. What kind of kid was Aaron? I mean, what kind of legacy did he leave behind? What joy did he leave with you?
Well, uh, first of all, Aaron had just graduated from high school 6 weeks before his accident. Uh,
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
he was a typical teenager. Uh, he had a job. He worked. Um, he had a steady girlfriend. They had been dating their entire senior year. Um, he was involved in school. He got involved in school government. He was an athlete. Uh, he played football and baseball for a while, and then he finally gave up football to concentrate on baseball. Um, he was going to uh, a local university on an academic scholarship. As a matter of fact, the week that he had his accident, which was on a Friday, that Monday, I was with him going through his freshman orientation. Um, he was a good kid. Uh, he never gave us any trouble. He did what he was supposed to. Uh, I just can't, and I'm not making it up because he's my son. I
Right.
mean, that's just the way he was.
Yeah.
Um, he was a popular kid in school. So when this happened, I mean, it rocked the community. I mean, it really did.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it rocked that high school.
Mm.
And one of the things that came about, and this was one of the things too that uh, caused me to write the book. Aaron, like I said, had been involved and got it involved in school government.
Mm-hmm.
One of their things that they had to do each year was to come up with a project to do school wide and possibly community wise. Well, I don't know who all came up with the idea for this, but they came up with the idea of raising the money to finance building a habitat home.
Mm.
Now, this was something that was going to take place, and it was probably going to take several years to do because the goal at that time was to raise $70,000.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the school that was going to do it.
Wow.
So something like this had never been done around this area.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be willing to bet that it probably has not been done very few times, if any,
Yeah.
that I know of by a high school.
Right.
This was not a big high school either. I mean, at the time he graduated, I'd say there was probably 2,500 students, something to that, effect.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but for some reason or another, he was the one that got the nod to make this presentation to the school faculty.
Mm.
And they did it at the beginning of the school year,
Mm-hmm.
his senior school year. Uh, I didn't hear it. His mom didn't hear it, which she worked at the school. Uh, but from what we understand, when they came out of there, they was actually faculty members that had tears running down their face. I don't have a clue what he said, but he got across to some people.
Right.
Uh, so they began the fundraising, but they knew this wasn't going to happen overnight. And then the accident took place. And this happened in the middle of the summer after um, he graduated. And I think at the end of the school year, I think they had probably raised, which was unbelievable, somewhere around $20,000 or something along
Mm.
that lines.
Wow.
And then when this happened, though, uh, the school counselors and the advisors that was on the student government and those kind of things, they just made a point that they were going to push it, and they were going to see that that was finished.
Mm.
And so when the next school year started, they come up with a flyer with Aaron's picture on it. They presented it at football games. They got it out in the community. And by Christmas of that year, they had raised $70,000.
Mm.
And by the, well, it didn't even reach the 1 year anniversary of his passing. That Habitat home was built and dedicated in his honor.
Mm.
And the thing that made it even more special was it was built right next to the high school where he attended. And they worked it out so that students from there, faculty from there, anybody that wanted to could walk over and work on that Habitat home.
Mm.
Um, so his legacy is a Habitat home.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. You know, you talk about the community, you talk about the school, you talk about um, his outreach, his community. You also talk about his charisma. But what I haven't heard is how has it changed your family?
Well, we just became, not that we wasn't anyway, I mean, we loved one another deeply.
Mm-hmm.
We were a close family. You can understand how sometimes things like this, you hear about it splitting up families. Well, with us, it brought us closer.
Mm.
Um, I think it's made us more grateful, uh, appreciative of one another. We've been more sympathetic, more empathetic to others when you hear about things like this going on, in the community and local. And like I said, this kind of thing, teenagers losing their lives in traffic accidents just happens every single day, and it's not just one. And anytime something like that local hits, you know, my heart breaks
Mm-hmm.
because I know the journey that they're fixing to start, and it's a long, painful journey
Yes.
to get through it. Um, I know probably for the first 2 years after he passed away, like I said, I got two other children. I don't think I heard either one of them say his name.
Mm.
I mean, it just hurt that much. But we've gotten to the point now where I'm not saying that there's not tears from time to time, because there is. Some days, of course, are definitely harder than others.
Yeah.
We have what we call Aaron moments,
Mm.
where something will just trigger a memory. But now we can talk about him and say things and bring up memories that bring smiles and those kind of things. And,
Right.
it's taken a long time to get to this place, but it's a process. You got to take one step at a time,
Mm.
moving forward. A lot of times it's baby steps.
Yeah.
And there'll be times when you take 3 steps forward and then you take 4 steps backwards.
Hmm.
But as long as you keep trying to move forward, uh, and it takes continuous effort, you know, just don't give up on one another, love each other, be there for the other. And that's another thing that I found out too, the hard way. Nobody grieves the same, not even
No.
within the same family.
No, they don't.
So you got to give each other room, space, and you just got to be there for them for whatever they need.
Hmm. Wow. What do you want this book to do for those people who are actually going to participate in reading it? What is it that you want to convey to them?
Well, I've actually got several different groups that I hope it affects. No,
Hmm.
number one, family. You know, just to realize that life is short, it's unexpected. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, that's just part of it.
Yeah.
If you live long enough, you're going to experience loss. You're going to experience tragedy. You're going to experience heartache.
Hmm.
But I want them to realize that how important family members are to each other.
Yeah.
Uh, don't take it for granted. Don't take life for granted. Um, when it comes to teenagers, I want them to realize how big of a responsibility that driving is,
Mm.
uh, how dangerous it can be. How to, you've got to pay attention to what's going on. And I'll be honest with you too. I talked to the traffic officer that worked the wreck. I saw the accident report. Aaron was actually officially charged with the accident, even though he wasn't doing anything wrong. He wasn't speeding. He had his seatbelt on. It just happened to be one of those days where it had been raining. It was still raining lightly when he had his accident. Um, the road was wet. It's a very bad road in our local community that's just full of turns, and it's narrow and those kind of things. And for whatever reason, I mean, he got distracted just for a split second. And like so many people do, he run off the side of the road just a little bit and panicked. And of course, what do most people do when they panic? They overcorrect.
Hmm.
He overcorrected. He slid across the road, and he got hit by a landscaping truck coming
Oh,
up. So it's one of those things where too many things were going against him at the same time. If that truck hadn't have been coming that way, probably wouldn't have been no big deal, you know. Uh, there's just too many things. I mean, you just can't. You can
Yeah.
beat yourself to death trying to figure it all out, but it ain't going to bring him back.
No.
So, you know, at some point in time, you just got to let it go.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing, or some other people that I hope the book gets to is, of course, Christians, uh, to give them some faith uh, that whatever comes their way, they can handle it as long as they believe the right way.
Mhm.
Um, and hopefully it can get to some people that may consider themselves to be non believers.
Mhm.
Because I'm telling you right now, uh, I'm going to ask you a question right quick. Do you
Okay.
know, do you know who Jeremy Camp is?
Heard of the name.
Okay, if you ever seen or watched the movie I Still Believe,
Okay.
he's the one that it's based on. He is
Mhm.
actually a Christian artist that writes songs, stuff like that. He's had a long career.
Mhm.
Uh, he wrote a book with the same thing, and basically what happened was when he was at a very young age, he took a leap of faith and married a young woman that he had fallen in love with, but after they fell in love, she was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
And he did that because he loved her. He wanted to be with her, regardless of how long she was going to be here. And after they got married, I don't think it was maybe but about a year, year and a half, things turned for the worst and she passed away.
Mm.
And it wrecked his life. Um, and that's what the movie has to do with. He wrote a book. A big part of that has to go with. But I had the opportunity to see him in concert just a little over a week ago.
Mhm.
And he made reference to it during the concert. And one of the things that he said was, he goes, you know, I lost my wife all those years ago, and I still, at times, it comes up. He said, but as hard as it is to go through something like that, I don't see how anybody can go through that without believing in God.
Right.
And you might as well put that on a T-shirt and print it because that's exactly the truth. So
Yeah.
maybe some of these people that don't believe, maybe they'll pick up the book and read it. And once they read it, maybe
Yeah.
that'll push them in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, Dennis, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I truly appreciate it, and for sharing your heart, and for sharing your story about Aaron. We know that he is in a better place than being here, and that we are going. We're all headed that way. He just got there a little too soon, and that's pretty much
Yeah,
all there is to say. Um, I want to thank you again so much. And people can find your book. We have the QR code right above me. And so the QR code is right there. It says Never Promised, but it really, the longer name is Tomorrow is Never Promised. You can get that book by scanning the QR code, or you can go to Amazon. We're going to put that link in the description box below. And we're also going to put that on Yaya Diamond's book club on Amazon. So, Dennis, thank you so much again. And
you're
his
welcome.
memory is forever engraved in a home that will always be for people who will love and cherish that home.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's where the heart is, in that home, and Aaron's heart is there.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. And I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Hey, if you think that this is going to help you to heal, get the book, get it, read it, and understand that you're not the only one going through a heart moment in your life. There are people there that can help you, that have written books like Dennis has, that can help you through your tough time, through the loss of your loved one. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. And until next time, guys, bye.
Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and Instagram. Thank you for watching.